are indeed. This is a best of 7, guys, that will determine the winner of the entire league. Spawning in the top location, we have for Team Cascade, it is the Red Protoss player Zeth. The map is Habitation, Heavy Rain, both beginning with an H. God damn it. Heavy Rain is the map.
And in this lower side of the map, we do have a very, oh god, my busy's not set. We do have a very, very well-known player representing mYinsanity's academy. He's from the Netherlands. He is JayPower. And I know there's quite a few Dutch fans in the chat, as well as a lot of mYinsanity fans in the chat who are cheering him on.
Definitely. I mean, JayPower has quite a strong fan base back in the Netherlands. One of the fan favorites, I'd say, to watch. Not only because of his skill, but also because of his very, very nice personality. He is such a cool dude. You would swear he's from Jamaica, but he's not. But he does have the afro. In fact, his nickname is Afrotoss.
He has a really, really good stream as well. You guys should check that out. I believe it's twitch.tv/JayPower. Definitely check that out. He streams a lot, and he's definitely one of the guys who deserves a lot of the views that he gets. So here we are. We've got PvP. Would it not be a team league without PvP? You know, it seems like PvP happens everywhere. It happens in Pro League. It happens in SC2ITL. You know, the best 2 team leagues around, basically. PvP is basically the staple, and so often we actually see Protoss players open up for teams. I don't really know why. I don't think it gives anyone a specific advantage, you know, apart from Protoss being fairly good recently, but we've seen a lot of PvPs to start things off in team league matches as of late.
Yeah, we have. And, you know, PvP can get a little bit wonky at times. We have seen double proxy gates, and by double proxy gates, I mean both players deciding to proxy gate. I think it was Stardust versus who was the other Protoss? It was on Habitation Station.
Kerr from
yeah,
Invasion.
and they both.
That was hilarious.
That was, you know, stuff like this happens. We can already see that Zeth has put one pylon at the back of his base. This is not necessarily for spotting. This is most likely to put some kind of tech down there, as PvP these days basically goes as follows. You open up with a gateway without a zealot, with double gas, heavy gas saturation straight from the get-go. You get one stalker and mothership go, and then throw down your tech of choice immediately. And we can see it is going to be a Twilight Council on both sides, actually.
Wow. So this is a fairly fast Twilight Council. Do you reckon this is going to be straight into Blink, or do you reckon we're going to see some DT play? Because, I mean, neither have opened with 2 gateways, and you can go 1 gateway Blink, but when you go 1 gateway Twilight, you know, you've got that possibility to go for that DT shrine.
We'll have to see how many gateways get added on here by the players. Usually when you go for Blink, you start adding the gates after you queue up the Blink. And you add 2 of those. If you want to go really, really all in, you add 4. But usually with DT openers, you go with 2 gateways only, and it's going to be double Blink. So this will be decided by Micro, nothing else, I believe.
Yeah, most definitely. It's going to be micro, and decision making too is going to be so important. And I almost feel as though the aggressor in this situation puts himself into a worse position. The defender is going to have so much more of an advantage, not only with photon overcharge, but because they can defend with less units, they may be able to squeeze out a robotics facility and an immortal, which would be a game changer in any kind of engagement. So it's very risky to go up to that, though, when you're playing such a mirrored build to your opponent, though. So
yeah, but here's another thing, though. Oh, there's a scout from JayPower with the mothership core. I was waiting for that core to get in there, because until this point, JayPower had no information on what his opponent was doing whatsoever. And we can see that JayPower is not adding the robo facility, which his opponent is. So I kind of think that Zeth is going to be playing this defensively as opposed to playing this offensively. There is a probe out on the map for Zeth on the right-hand side, probably going to try and put down a proxy pylon, but so far he is staying inside his base, and we see JayPower pulling back as well.
So JayPower, he's got the scout. He knows where his opponent's going, and he's not getting a robo because he knows there's no DTs. He knows Blink's on the way. Now, the robo from Zeth is a safety robo. You know, it's there so you can chrono out an observer if he needs it, because he has no information on what his opponent's doing at all here. He's going to get an immortal first, which is again something else you can do. Get that fast immortal out, then you're very safe from attacks. Now, I'm wondering what JayPower's going to do. He actually cancels his 4th gateway and adds on his own robo facility here. I kind of like this. It means he's going to be behind by about an immortal throughout, but
yeah, that is true. But
it,
unless he plans on expanding and defending for a little while longer, he's basically going to start to fall behind in terms of army composition due to Zeth having that immortal advantage. If he keeps that advantage throughout the game, then he is always going to have the stronger army. Both players have Blink, which will make the engagements tentative. To say the least.
We're actually going to see Zeth move down his ramp here and be the second player to expand, as JayPower has already done that. So, you know, getting his slightly later robo and a slightly later immortal is going to benefit him by having this slightly, ever so slightly faster expansion. I mean, we're talking about the length of time to get 2 extra probes out, so it's a very small difference, but at the end of the day, it is something which could be a game changer if this game was very, very even. Of course, with the way that micro works in StarCraft, we barely ever actually see a situation like that. As look at this, Zeth just finds a pylon of JayPower, and that's going to supply block JayPower once again here, and he's going to be forced to make another pylon. It's the supply block's not going to do too much. It's
no, that's basically what you want to do in a PvP. You want to have a pylon on your opponent's side of the map, if at all possible, and likewise, you know, you don't want to have your opponent's pylons on your half of the base, especially when you're expanding, and even less so when you're planning on attacking. I mean, there is not one of the worst feelings in the world is, as a Protoss player in PvP, you move out on the map, you begin the attack, and suddenly you find 6 zealots in your mineral line, and you're like, damn it. So
I mean, definitely the worst feeling is you know what's even worse? I think a warp prism coming in your main and you're just like, I need to warp in, but then I warp in and his zealots just do so much damage to my warp-ins and makes it actually really awkward to defend. I really like that Zeth's invested in this forge so quickly. That very fast +1 is going to help him out so much. And again, being the defender, there's not really anything that JayPower can do to, you know, punish the fact that he's gone for a forge and +1. You know, he doesn't really have any advantage which will let him do that. So as time goes on, the longer JayPower does not begin a forge for, and I mean he just starts his now, so that's going to be what, about a 2-minute difference in upgrades, and that's basically a full, about a half to a full upgrade advantage that Zeth's going to have for this entire game if he's on top of his Chrono Boost and his Twilight Council timing.
The thing is, why is Zeth so much ahead in terms of transitioning into the mid game, which is usually signified by the addition of the forge? Look at the worker disparity. I mean, not so long ago it was like 30 workers versus 41. There was almost an 11 worker difference a couple minutes ago. JayPower is only just now getting his +1, and if we take a look at what Zeth is doing for tech, he's getting the Temple Archives, he's getting the +1 is almost done, he is queued up the charge, and he's starting to add on the gateways right now. Let's see how many he adds on. If he goes up to 8 gates, this could be a timing with Charge Lot Archon across the map out of 8 gateways. So far he's only added on 3, so maybe... but there is a probe still on patrol. Yeah, there's the 4th gate.
It is weird, this worker disparity you mentioned before. JayPower's catching back up again here, but he was even with a faster Nexus originally, but Zeth, he just committed all of his Chrono Boost into workers, which has allowed JayPower to catch up slightly in the immortal count, but of course that worker count is so much more important, and it's just kind of that earlier robo, I think, is all it comes down to. He already had out 1 immortal. And what we going to see a storm drop? What?
Yeah, he's getting storm. He's getting Temple Archives. This is going to be fun. I mean, you almost never ever do this in a PvP because it's so much not viable that you don't ever want to go this way. But some players can actually make this work. I mean, Minigun is one of those guys that is like, well, why not do a storm drop? I mean, it's a bad idea, but let's try it. And he somehow makes it work. Now, given the fact that Zeth has had higher spending throughout the last 5 minutes or so, and is getting a 3rd base, if he can kill like 8 workers, then that's 8 is going to
Oh no.
Yep.
You've cut out.
Really?
Yes. Maybe turn your webcam off or something for a little bit.
Oh.
You just seemed to cut out a little bit there.
Alright.
So we didn't quite catch what you were saying. The third base has been taken by both sides now. And that upgrade is still heavily in the lead. And this storm drop just sitting to the right-hand side of the map. As Zeth is getting ready to march on down the left-hand side. And he might try and target this third base while pulling his opponent to the right-hand side with that drop with the Templar. So keep our eyes on both points right now, as this is where all the action is.
Yep.
Charge finishing up. And both players getting Archons into their composition now. This Storm Drop, it's moving towards this natural expansion, and a cannon's being added here. But that's not going to help at all against Templars, and here we go.
It's coming.
It's going to happen.
It's coming, Wardy! Oh my god, very bad splitting there. He almost escaped that storm, but then clicked his probes right into the smack dab middle of it. As we can see, he lost 16 workers.
That was really, really effective, and now he's posturing onto this base. A nice couple of force fields are going to catch himself a free Immortal here. Now blinking and disengaging at the same time. Zealots of JayPower are attacking the third base of Zeth as well. So Zeth is being attacked, but he's seeming to deal with this fairly okay. Now he actually recalls. And overall here, he's gotten himself a pretty significant advantage. About 20 supply, 10 of that in workers, 10 of that in army, and of course, that +3 upgrade for him is also well on the way compared to JayPower's +2, which is still yet to finish.
That timing could not have been any better to attack with Zeth. I mean, at a time that JayPower's was still not completed, and it still is not completed as I speak. And you know, he forced Jay to make a choice. Do I leave some units at the natural? Even if he knew the War Prism was coming, he would have to leave some units there. My third is under attack, and then he got 16 probes with that storm drop. He recalls out, saves his third base, progresses with his tech. Both players transitioning into Colossus mode right now. Probably will be taking a fourth base shortly thereafter. And we can see that JayPower is really trying to catch up, adding on a second Robo facility just to give himself a higher Colossus production here.
Yep, this looks as though the Storm Drop just came back in. A few more workers getting killed off there. Just missed that. Just caught the last end of it. So a fourth base now on the way for Zeth. We have a very slow paced PvP here. A couple of drops of a little bit of aggression, but in general, just big macro plays, and most interestingly, both players going into Colossi production. That Robo Bay is coming on either side of the map, and both have realizing that later in the game here, Colossi are going to be the better composition. Now, with the second Robo already finished, JayPower is going to take the lead in this, and that might be something he needs to maybe hit a bit of a timing to pull back this little bit of a supply deficit he's now found himself in.
Definitely. I mean, he tries to get ahead by getting more Colossus quicker than his opponent, but he'll have to pick a very good time to attack, because having more Colossus quicker does not do you any good if you give your opponent time to equalize the count, obviously. With the second Robo finishing for Zeth, he is very soon going to be on the same production capability as his opponent. Actually, if we take a look at the building tab, they have the exact same number of gateways, forges, everything, basically, apart from that fourth Nexus, which JayPower is looking to take out right now.
With these, I guess he's only got one Colossi in his army. At the same time, he's trying to run Zealots into the third base, but a huge commitment of the army over there by Zeth is going to mean he loses this fourth, and maybe a couple of probes, which are on their way out as well. So, a nice move by JayPower now means his fourth base is going to come quicker than his opponent's. And this is also what you need just to even up that worker count a little bit more.
War Prism in the natural of JayPower gets another couple of probes, and JayPower actually initiates a recall because of that, but recalls to the third base. Now the War Prism is poised to strike at the main base down there, but there are Stalkers.
Yeah, just out of range, so it will live for now.
Will live for now, but as we can see, 56 probes to 64, 30 workers have been killed by Zeth this game, so he is slowing down JayPower by quite a lot by doing this harassment constantly.
The Colossi count are very interesting, Valnor. We've got 5-3 in favor of JayPower, and I mean, Zeth, he's making 2 more versus JayPower just making 1 more, so in the end, I guess what's most interesting is we're going to have a very, very even composition. JayPower is potentially going to have a little bit more of an army because he's got less workers, but that means Zeth will have more money to resupply with. So it's kind of interesting.
It is, and what I noticed even about this is the number of immortals on either side. I think that's going to be the deciding factor ultimately in any battle if it comes right about just now. I mean, JayPower, yes, he has the higher class numbers, but against Archon, Mortal, and Immortals, they can shred through those class eyes so quickly. Oh wow, there's a DT and not an observer.
And he just recalls out. Wow. So he just recalls straight out of there after that and keeps his 4th base alive, which is, you know, something Zeth needed to do this time around. And the Colossi count now much more even. But as you said, the Immortal lead is huge for Zeth, 9-4. 5 extra Immortals, and they take down Colossi literally in 1 click now. So that's something we've got to keep our eyes out. And a lone Colossi out in front. He's going to be chased down. He may not go down, but that's a lot of health to lose already.
You know what, I think Zeth is going to go for it. He just needs to put his Archons to the front.
This positioning, man. Look at this positioning. Now he's got the 4th base under lockdown, and you know, JayPower has to walk into his concave to defend his 4th base, and all his probes over here are going to die. JayPower, he's kind of thinking about it. He wants to go in, and this engagement is going to happen. Here's our fight bell now. We've been waiting a while for this, and Colossi lasers are firing everywhere, but these Immortals and Archons are just closing in on the army of JayPower, and everything's going to go down here, I think. He's trying to retreat. The Time Warps are helping him out a little bit, but in the end, it's just not going to be enough. These Immortals are just wrecking through, and the Colossi count remains strong for Zeth.
Did you see how fast those Archons just disappeared? At the same time, we have a drop in the main base of JayPower. Zeth is completely dismantling his opponent here right now after a very well played macro mid game. And look at this, he just pulls back.
He pulls back because the drop in the main is just doing so much damage. So many gateways are going down. Zeth asks for a pause here. His sound is gone. So, but I mean, this game is pretty much his at this point with a 90 supply lead. Zeth is looking very, very good. So, I mean, he's got DTs here in the main. JayPower's got like a single DT to clean up 4 DTs and like 6 Zealots or something. And yeah, Zeth's just going to back off until he gets more of an army to, you know, just get a bit of his tech back up, as well as some Zealots to tank for that heavy cost army. So, doing all the right things here. And Zeth, hopefully, in a moment, will be able to fix his sound.
I mean, he knows he is in the worker lead. He knows how many probes he's just killed at the 4th base. He knows he traded very well versus JayPower's army right now at the battle at the 3rd base. In fact, if we take a look at the resources lost, it's 9.5k versus 16. That's a 7,000 difference in resources. And since Zeth has been mining for longer, as you mentioned before, he had higher bank. He did not lose very much in that battle, and even if he did, he would still be able to reinforce faster. So he just falls back very comfortably to his advantage. The drop in the main is still going on.
It is. He's going to lose a Forge now. Not the most important things. I mean, his attack upgrades are finished, but he's losing now Robo facilities, and that means no more Colossi, no more Immortals to be made. He's lost a substantial number of gateways as well. He's still warping in like singular DTs to try and deal with this. But it's not enough ever, and this continues, and JayPower just doesn't have the money to warp in anything to defend this. He's going on pretty much a one last ditched effort.
But this army is too small to deal with. Look at this, 3 additional gateways. Look at the army size. It's 118 to 50.
Look at the Archons.
Yeah, so fat. They can't even fit through that choke point. I mean, come on, map makers, make larger chokes so Archons can get through.
Think of the Archons.
Think of the Archons. Don't discriminate.
Hashtag save the Archons.
Yeah, we can make StarCraft a better place if you only would just show a little bit more humanism.
So, I mean, JayPower, he's backed off right here. He did save his 4th base before by taking that engagement, but of course we saw that engagement. It didn't work out too well for him by any stretch of the imagination here. So we do have a bunch of Colossi going to move down this left-hand side, and they may look to move forward onto some kind of this army just once again, and you know, just try and take out again a Warp Prism or just a Warp in general to this 4th base. And now this 4th base under attack and pulling the army out of position, ready for Zeth to come in from behind.
Oh, Zeth is going to flank this from the top as JayPower is running back. Oh, and he attacks the Colossus first. completely